amusement park one day. I saw a sign say animals have the right of way. Wildlife, whatever happened to wildlife? The animals in the zoo. You're breathing so hot. A lot of political nonsense in the air. You're making it hard for the people who live in there. You're moving so fast, but baby, you know not where. Wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? Animals in the zoo. Oh, oh, you'd better stop. 'Cause animals everywhere. Man is the top, and animal too. And man, you've just gotta care. Wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? The animals in the zoo. Breathing a lot of political nonsense in the air. You're making it hard for the people who live in there. Oh, wildlife, what's gonna happen to wildlife? Animals in the zoo. Wildlife, whatever happened to
Right on. Oh God, I love that so much. The light workers. There's my little cat right on cue. She's always got to be in everything. Hey, folks, welcome to the second installment of Let's Get Wild. Okay, we're here. I've got lots of important things to talk to you about, and I'm glad you're joining in with me. We're going to have a good time. Let me show you the camera, the remote cameras first. That's kind of cool. I got a bunch of little cameras set up. We've got the Hardrick Pond camera showing you outside. It rained earlier, but now it's starting to clear up a little. That's the north end. Now the camera just zoomed in. Okay. And then, of course, we have the Tinky Cam. The little Tinky. Okay. And can't have a Tinky Cam without a Domino Cam. She's always going to be on camera no matter what. Okay. And she's fixing to jump on the floor and play with the mount. Nope. There's the Bobcat, the cam. Okay. Bob shed last night. So he's looking real good, but you can't tell because he's in his bottle. And there's the Domino and the toy mouse scam. I thought I'd throw that in there. And I knew she'd mess with it. She's so good. I love that girl. All right, that's cool, everybody. Look, thanks for joining me. I got some good things set up. Did you catch my little joke during the introduction of the song where she says, we got to stop? And then I froze it as if I went off the air. No, not this time, folks. We're going all the way here. All right. Just in case I have some things recorded. So I'll make sure that we do it. Now, listen, the first thing we're going to get right into this, folks. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about was something that somebody asked me last week. And they said, can you talk about when birds hit windows? And I said, certainly. Weird thing was our first episode, when I was setting up, when everything went wrong that day, we didn't even show the recording of that one. That was that was on May 10th. Okay. A bird literally hit the window when I was doing the test, and it broke my heart. And I said to Dee, I said, this is a bad omen. We're not going to start this today. And we didn't. We waited a week. And of course, the omen followed us because it didn't work quite well then either. But we got this thing working so good now. These people at Riverside FM, they really, really finally got it right and hooked us up. Okay, so we want to thank them. Let's see, what else can I tell you about here? Okay, the bird strikes. Okay, I'm going to put this little thing up, and I want you to look at it. Maybe take a screenshot. All right. And generally, what we're talking about here is why birds hit the windows. Okay, how you can prevent it, and what to do if you find a bird that hit it. Okay, and this little graphic here covered all three, so I thought it was perfect for you. Let me take myself off there. Okay, now you can take a nice screenshot of that. Of course, why birds collide, reflections of trees. That makes perfect sense in the windows. They fly to it, or views through glass or indoor plants. Okay, any of that looks like vegetation that they need, or trees that they need to get to or want to get to. And at nighttime, any artificial lights disorient. Of course, the nocturnal migrators and songbirds seasonally. Territorial birds attack reflections in the spring. And what bird is that we know a lot? Well, there's other birds that do it, but we sure know that the turkeys like to do that as well with their reflection. Sometimes a reflection in your car door. Okay. How do we prevent it? Okay. Kaleidoscope film, UV film, UV decals, feather friendly dots, just dot stickers. I just make X's with masking tape. That works great. Rope curtains, tape strips. That's what I meant. That's what I was talking about. You can turn off decorative lights outside, floodlights, and high-rise office lights at night. We don't have to worry about that stuff. And of course, you can use shades or task lighting. Shades are great. Of course, on a nice sunny day, you want to look out your window and watch the birds. It's better to use the above mentioned. I am going to just quickly jump before we go into what to do with when you find a bird that hit a window. I wanted to run this by you, which I'm going to try. Okay, and then I'll give you my critique on this product. But I looked into it. I looked into the research. I looked into the reviews. And if this product works and they say it does not filth the window, does not streak it, it dries clean and clear. And if it all works, and I'd be surprised, but if it does, I think this might be one of those products that we need to talk further about down the road. Okay, folks. And then finally on this subject, what do you do when you find a bird that hit um, your window, or you're somewhere where it hits a window, or you see a bird lying on the ground below a window, which is usually the indication. We had another one hit another smaller window. We have a lot of birds here. We need to be very careful. But it lived, but it left a few feathers and some saliva on the glass. So we knew that it took a good hit. Fortunately, it was a side swipe, enough where it was able to fly off and not hit and fall down. Okay. So with gloved hands, always gloved hands, because you never know. Although bird flu is least likely to hit the songbirds. And I apologize for moving around, folks. My leg is bothering me a little bit today. And I tried to walk around with my knee, and um, I guess I didn't stretch it enough. But um, with the gloves, you don't know, even though songbirds are the last ones to be affected by an outbreak of bird flu, it's always good to wear gloves, because sometimes they live in nests, and then you don't know what the nests are, what's in the nest, what you know, saliva, poop, whatever the case may be in the environment of some of these nests. You don't want to be handling it without either wearing gloves or washing your hands thoroughly afterwards. Place the bird in a secure, breathable container like a cardboard box. That's kind of simple to remember. Place the container in a quiet, dark area of the house. Keep it away from friends, family, and pets. Okay, that's very important. No loud music, very important, okay, especially when you're transporting animals. I'm going to be honest with you. When I used to transport injured animals, I would play, if anything, low volume, soft, classical, or something very soothing type of music. Sometimes especially when I didn't think the animal was going to make it. I just felt, and personally, I felt it was the best thing to do. The bird, after 2 hours, look, again, folks, a bird strike is 50-50. Birds hit a glass flying into it like that. The more likely they're gonna get some sort of either a broken neck, or a neck issue, or head trauma, at the very least, on a good strike. So the ones that hit and are able to survive are really quite lucky. Okay. To have such an incredible knock on the head, on such a small, fragile skull, enough to knock you out unconscious and unable to catch your breath, and then to be able to come to and then fly off, that's pretty incredible. Well, listen, don't get hard on yourself if you try to do a good thing and you come back and check an hour or two later and that bird is stiff as the cardboard box you put it in, because it's more than likely that'll be the case for the very reason I just told you. Head trauma, broken neck. You don't want that bird to live, because it's not going to have any quality of life with those types of injuries. Okay. After 2 hours, I've always gone with an hour. You want to give it an extra hour, by all means. If that bird is still alive and breathing after an hour, and you don't want to pull the plug, so to speak, yeah, give it 2 hours. Go outside. If the bird is awake, try to release it. See if you can get it to jump on the edge of the box or stand up or blink or turn its head. If it turns its head, we know the head's not broken, or the neck's not broken. And then if it doesn't, if it is able to stand up or not, but doesn't fly away, um, that's when you absolutely have to bring it to a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, and they'll do what is necessary. Okay, they'll check it out. Look, they'll check it out. If you miss something, and they think there's something they can do, they'll do it, and that's that. If not, they're going to put the animal down because that's what needs to happen, and they'll do it humanely, safely, and that animal won't die and suffer alone on the ground with predators walking around waiting for it to die or just eating it alive. Think about it. Horrible. So saving a bird, even if it's you don't think it's going to make it, bringing it in, allowing it to die peacefully in a box or getting it to a wildlife rehabilitator, that to me is always a plus, and it makes you a wildlife hero in my eyes. Okay. So that's that, folks. And I want you to know, you have any questions, you have any pictures you want to send me, I'd love to see your pictures. Anything, please. Questions, topics, anything. I want to hear them. I can come up with some great ones, but I want to hear what you want to talk about. So either email them to me, you can text them to me. I even put my phone number up there because, hell, you can get my phone number anywhere. All right, and you can text me. I prefer, or leave a voice message. I don't often answer the phone, although I do own one. And or you could go to the Let's Get Wild Facebook page, and there too you can leave comments there on my regular page, and we can accommodate you with some answers on our next show and everything you need to know. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the topic of the week. And this one is going to be a very special one. And I'm going to get right into it. So it's about color mutation. Okay. Hold on. Let me switch lenses here. All right. So the topic of the week is going to be about color mutations in animals. I thought this was a wonderful opportunity to discuss this topic because it's not often talked about, because there's so many technical terms, so many when you're talking about DNA and genetics, it can get a little confusing and complicated, more scientific than actually being able to understand in layman's terms. But I have a way of possibly making it a little easier for you to understand it. So I'd love to give it a shot because I think it's one of the most interesting subjects in in the study of animals. I think it's amazing. It goes a lot deeper than you might expect. So let's give it a shot. Give me an opportunity to explain it to you, and maybe you'll understand it. I did want to start by showing you this video here that was sent in by a dear friend of Dee and myself, Jody, out there on Long Island. She sent this to us last year. Of course, that's a piebald deer, or of course a deer with leucism. And we're going to discuss that, okay? All right. I did put together some pictures here, so hopefully we can go along with it, and I can hit them in the right cues, and we'll give you a good little educational on color mutations, okay? All living things have a unique genetic code that makes us structurally how we appear. This code is called DNA. It controls our height, our skin color, hair color, eye color, and other physical traits. Our DNA is passed down from our parents, which is why we often have similar traits with our parents. Sometimes small changes can form when DNA is combined and passed down to offspring, or even during one's own development. These small changes can affect the offspring and cause them to look or act differently than the rest of the species' normal appearance. This is called a mutation. Okay. Many animals have mutations in the part of their DNA that controls a body pigment chemical called melanin. Melanin is a pigment of color variant that controls the color of one's skin, hair, fur, feathers, scales, and of course, eyes. Those who produce a lot of melanin will have darker features, while those whose mutation lacks melanin production completely have light to white features. Sometimes melanin production can be spotty or in specific areas, while not produced in other areas on the same animal. This mutation results in patchy or mixed colored features. Okay? There are 3 common types of DNA mutation that affects melanin production and placement: melanism, albinism, and leucism. Melanism is an overproduction of melanin, making the animal melanistic. Albinism is the lack of melanin production, 0, making the animal albino or albinistic. Leucism is when some melanin is produced in some places and not in others across the body. This mutation creates patchy or spotty areas of color in certain species, like deer, for example. Leucism is also referred to as pieballism or simply piebald. All of these color mutations can happen to mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and even insects. Both albinism and leucism are rare in animals, although albinism is much more rare, occurring between 1 in 20,000 to 1 in a million. It's more common in birds, reptiles, and amphibians. Seeing animals with these color mutations are also rare, as they often take away from the animal's natural camouflage capabilities, making them extremely vulnerable to predation, which is being found and eaten by a natural predator. Now, some animals may appear albino, being completely white. However, they lack one important difference, which puts them in the leucism category. That would be the eye color. A true albino produces no melanin, no pigment, not even in the eyes. When pigment doesn't exist in the eye, it appears transparent, except for the eye's many tiny blood vessels that cast a clear and present hue of pink to red. If eye color remains normal, then melanin is being produced. Therefore, it is leucism mutation rather than albinism. Okay? Cousin Jane sent me this beautiful photo of a popular, well-known white deer over in Ontario, Canada, I believe. Not sure if she took this picture or it was one she picked up over there, but the color on the legs show the scent gland areas of darkness. But I do see color on both the belly and the crown area of the head. But even if this beauty was entirely white, the dark natural colored eyes would still keep this deer in what? The leucism category of pigment mutation. The connection between color mutations in parents and offspring depends on whether the genetic mutation is dormant, meaning one parent carries the mutated gene, or recessive, meaning both parents carry the mutated gene. Albinism is usually recessive, while melanism is often dormant. Of course, it's more likely than an offspring with parents both carrying the mutated melanin gene will produce an albinistic offspring. However, even though the parents both carry the mutated melanin gene, they do not have to be albinistic themselves. There are other color mutations besides the 3 common I just told you about. These are much more rare to be seen. And sometimes it's difficult when you look online for examples, because there's so many fake AI photos of animals, different color or with these odd designs on them. It's very difficult to find exactly what I was looking for, but fortunately, because I know about these color mutations, I was able to find some good photographs of the actual color mutation in the animal and not something phony. So let's talk about erythrism. It's hard to say with my tooth, but it's erythrism. Okay, Erythrism. Erythrism causes an abundance of reddish or orange pigment. Some examples would be there's a known as a strawberry leopard in South Africa. And then, of course, many folks know about the pink dolphins in the Amazon. Then there's a mutation called xanthism. Xanthism, spelled with an X, is the overproduction of yellow pigment. The elusive yellow cardinal is a great example of xanthism. Okay. I think there's only a few seen every year, but it does happen. If you have heard of them, that's what xanthism mutation is, which should not be confused with flavism. Okay. Flavism is a rare deficiency in typical dark pigments called eumelanin, okay, causing an overexpression of yellow pigment. This mutation is often seen in the emperor penguin, for example. Okay. That should sum it all up. I hope I made it easier to understand and that you all have a better idea of why certain animals are not wearing their natural colors. Hey, even more interesting, black cats can absolutely owe their beautiful black coats to melanin and its high level of production of the dark pigment eumelanin. So even better, my cats, Tinky and Domino, are both tuxedo cats. That makes them technically sporting a form of partial leucism in their coats. Even big cats can't escape the mutation. For a very long time, experts and zoologists all thought the black panther was a separate species from what they knew as a melanistic leopard. And it turned out that they're both the same animal. They just have different levels of melanism, the mutation. So it's not always cut and dry, but there are some good surprises out there when it comes to these color mutations. Finally, the word piebald. It's an old term using two words pushed together. Now, pie, of course, actually refers to the magpie, but because of the coloring of the magpie being multicolored, it really refers to being mixed or mixed up. Okay. And then bald refers to a white streak or white streaked. Okay. Obviously, bald doesn't refer to hairless because as it's used in the bald eagle, certainly a bald eagle is not bald, but has a beautiful head of white feathered hair atop its head. Okay. So that's how the word bald came into use for bald eagle. Okay. All right, folks, as far as any other colored things like horses, for example, between piebald, skewbald, pintos, and paints, believe me, that's a whole other subject for another time, partner. That's really basically not all color mutations. In fact, a lot of them are just color patterns. So we can get into that at another time. But as far as color mutations, I think we went through the basics of that. And again, I hope you understand it a little better now, having been told to you in a much more layman's terms. All right. Now, let's sit back and watch this little film I made a few years back about what to do if you find a baby fawn in your yard or in odd locations like behind your car in the driveway or underneath it or underneath your deck or a variety of different locations. This is very important information, folks, especially on the east end of Long Island. I know that a lot of the residents are still not familiar on what to do. So take a listen. Hey folks, Dell Cullum here. We have a situation that I've been anxious to go over with you. If you look right here to the ground here, you'll see we have a little baby fawn that mama just dropped here next to these nice people's home and right outside their front door. Okay, so I just came to check on them, but I let them know, just like I try to reach everybody and let them know, that this is completely normal. Mama often drops these babies in some unique locations. However, she always, most of the time, always comes back unless she gets injured herself. The way to tell is if a baby is in distress, she'll be up, walking around, and crying for mama constantly. And if mama doesn't show up, then that means there's an issue. Another way to tell is if there's flies on her. If there's flies and ants on her, mama's not keeping them off properly. That might indicate that mama's not around. One last thing is most people may have heard about the ears. If the ears are curled, that means they're dehydrated and they haven't eaten. So that means mama's not around nursing. So that could also mean an indication. But the most important thing is we always wait at least minimum of 10 hours before we do anything unless one of those three signs occur: the crying, the flies, or the dehydration. Other than that, we let this little one sit here because mama will come back. Give her 10 hours. If she doesn't, I recommend you give me a call back. We'll reassess the problem, and if the animal needs help, we'll give her help. But just so you know, if you look back behind me, I don't know if you can see her, but mama's right back there, and she's watching. She's got her eye on her. She's put her here for a reason. She's gonna come back and get her later. She's a newborn, and look how cute this little bugger is. So thanks to these really awesome people for allowing this process to take place. This is what it's all about. Wildlife matters and loving our wildlife. Thanks, everyone. That's right, folks. Call your wildlife center. Know your wildlife center is most important. Okay, you got to know them first. So wherever you move, wherever you are, find out where your closest wildlife center is, or your closest licensed rehabber. Okay, and become very friendly with them. All right, like that handsome young man that just did that show with the beautiful long hair and the nice teeth, and boy, what a nice man, young man. Anyway, folks, one more thing I want you, here we go, another screenshot opportunity. I pulled this up. It's very important. I think it is. Mostly because it's accurate information. Gee, I don't know if I should try this or not. I'm going to. Hopefully this will work. Okay, and if you can take a screenshot of this, most cases you'll be able to collect the whole thing and it'll be legible enough for you to uh, read because it's important information. Of course, folks, this applies to the eastern end of Long Island, okay, in New York. Make sure you understand that. I don't want to claim that I know what particular situations folks have or laws in other states. If I ever do have that information, I would certainly um, share that with you as part of the show. Okay. So if you all have that, that's great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my deep pleasure to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, and who we're going to bring in on a call in here in just a second. And let's see how quick I can make this happen. All right. So far, so good, right? All right, everybody. Here we are with our unbelievable, extra special guest this episode. We have with us the Bonic Bee herself, Deb Klugers. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Dell.
And we are doing this live from the hive. I love saying that. That's perfect. So Deb isn't actually at her farm. I believe, Deb, you're at your home, right? And this is your
Yep.
personal hive. Yep. Well, Deb, I appreciate you joining in with us. We're certainly going to have you on. You're going to be like our other guest, Pat Hope. You're going to be a recurring guest because you know so much about bees and beekeeping that, and there's always so many people that want to know. They're always asking me questions, and I say, well, we got to talk to Deb because she knows the whole thing. So, Deb, I've got about 5 or 6 questions that I got from people, and I would love to go down the line and talk to you and ask you these questions. And if you can answer them, I would be very grateful.
Sure.
Okay.
Do my best.
All right. The first one is from Nancy, and Nancy says, how far do honeybees fly from the hive to find nectar?
So honeybees can travel 3 to 5 miles, but they're animals and they just want to do the most efficient foraging. So the closer is better. But if they can't find good resources within a mile or so from their home, they will spread further because they just want to live. So they're going to keep looking. They'll fly until their little wings give up.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Nancy. That was a great question. Our next one comes from our pal Warren. He asks, where do honeybees find food in the winter, and do they hibernate?
So honeybees don't hibernate. They actually will detach their wing muscles and shiver their abdominal or their thoracic muscles to keep warm. They're called heater bees, and they will literally heat the hive. They'll be in a cluster in the wintertime, and they'll keep that cluster maybe 70, 80 degrees. But once they start rearing brood, which starts actually in about January, their year is by the winter solstice, the sun. They go by the sun. So the winter solstice is the beginning of the bee year in January, and that's when they start rearing brood, and they'll keep that brood cluster at about 98 degrees. So they're active year round, and basically on a warm-ish winter day, maybe 40, 45 degrees, they'll go out and poop. So they don't poop in their hive. They hold it all winter long, or as long as they need to, and when they can get out and poop, they will.
Wow.
And and where do they find nectar? Where do they get food? They don't. Everything that they need in our area, we're talking in an area that has these seasons, seasonal change. We need to leave them a good 50 to 75 pounds of honey to get through the winter. And if they only in our area have a very short window to collect the nectar to turn it into honey, and that's from about mid-May to mid-July. Oftentimes, we leave them their 50 to 75 pounds in July, and they go through it by October. So we beekeepers need to be mindful of that and make sure that the bees have plenty of food. We can give them frames of honey that we've saved, or we give them different types of a sugar, whether it's dry sugar or sugar slurry or a fondant. We even feed them a liquid feed, in the fall to get them to fill up their comb with this liquid, and it's actually very good for them. I use a supplement called Hive Alive. It's a seaweed-based supplement made in Ireland. So, there's a lot of things that we do, but if we don't make sure that they have enough food, they're going to die. They use that sugar as their energy, like their carbs. Their protein that they don't need in the wintertime would be the pollen. And they use that protein to rear their young. So they're not really rearing much young in the wintertime. So we just concentrate on giving them the sugar. for the
Awesome.
carbohydrates, and they turn that carb into energy, which is the heat that they need to stay alive.
Well, that's interesting because, and it also answers another question because Brian had asked, "Do you leave some honey for the bees?" So
That's,
when you harvest your honey, so that answered that question.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool, Deb. All right, this one's a good one. Patty asks, "How much honey does one healthy hive produce per year?"
Here on Long Island, the average surplus yield, which means the honey up beyond what we need to save for them. So if we're saving them 50, 75 pounds, the surplus above that is about 35 pounds. And contrast that to some place like Maine, where they might get 200 pounds. They have a very long nectar flow. And also think about our geography. We're at the tip of an island. So the bees may forage 3 to 5 miles, but a lot of my colonies are on the ocean or on the bay. So their foraging of 3 to 5 miles is cut in half effectively by the water. So it is a little bit tough keeping bees out here, especially, a lot of spraying for ticks and mosquitoes. And, I can give a little tip right here. Use cedarwood oil. Everyone's using a lot of perithrins and just weird stuff that kills everything. Kills birds, kills all the beneficial insects.
All the pollinators. Yeah, we
All the
talked about that. Yeah.
Even affects our little mammal friends. So cedarwood oil does not harm honeybees at all, but it does kill ticks and mosquitoes. So why not use something that's natural? It doesn't even have to have a pesticide label. It's so
Natural.
so natural and non-harmful to the environment that it's not even really considered a pesticide. More
That's
of
a,
a
that's a great tip. That's a great tip. This one I can't wait to hear because I don't even know what this is. Teresa says, "What is a waggle dance?"
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here it is. And then I go like this, and then I go this way, and then I go this way, that way, and then I just keep doing it.
And what does that do?
So the honeybees communicate via pheromones or scent and through dance. And that waggle dance tells the sisters in the hive, because the boys don't do any work. The boys in the hive do not go to flowers. They've never been observed collecting pollen or nectar. So it's a girl thing. We dance for the sisters, and it's telling them where the food is in relation to the hive, in relation to the sun, the angle of the sun to the flower, the distance, and the bees communicate all of that. Maybe they've gone a mile away, they come home, and they waggle this dance and telling their sisters where the forage is compared to the sun 15 minutes ago, but it's 15 minutes later, and it'll take 15 more minutes for them to get back. So mind blown. How do they do? And they literally come back to this little tiny bee makes her way back to this hive. And they could get stuck out in a rainstorm. They could get, it drops, the temperature drops, or it's just they fly with the sun. They can't fly without sun, really.
Yeah.
So, they might even stay out all night and still make their way back the next day.
So is it, you're saying it's like almost like a dance, like a dance of a map? It's like a mapped out dance, a dance telling the bees, depending on what direction they dance and waggle or wiggle, would tell them what angle or direction that
Absolutely.
they're trying to point out.
And their direction.
That is out of this world amazing.
Out of this world. And their direction is also on the comb, of their relationship on the comb to the sun, to the forage, to the home. And the bees know where they live by landmarks. So, this tree and this deck. But if I were to move this hive over there 10 feet, they would all come back right here, and they wouldn't know that that's their hive. So, as amazingly coordinated they are, just something so simple as, moving it halfway across your yard, you can't do that. If I wanted to move them over there, I would move them a few feet a day. Or I could move them 3 miles away for a week or so, and then move them back over there. So there's a lot to know about
Wow.
them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, Gee, man, Deb, we could talk to you all day, and as I told everybody, please write in those questions. I'm so happy everybody wrote in these questions. I
Yeah.
know there's more. I didn't want to overwhelm Deb, on her first visit with us. Plus, we want to keep the show within an hour. But Deb, one more question. This is the
Okay.
top of them all, I think. Terry wants to know how can all of us help the honeybees survive?
Well, I think a simple answer could be support your local beekeepers, of course. Come to our talks, like our posts on Instagram or whatever. Buy local honey, and I believe we're going to do a whole show about honey laundering.
Oh, yes, we are.
Very hard for the consumer to discern what honey is really real, in addition to what honey is really local, because there's a lot of people that just lie and they buy honey in bulk and for a couple dollars a pound. They put it in jars. They might have a hive or two to show, but they're really fraud, and they're committing food fraud, and they're stealing the consumer's money, and it's very sad.
That's a serious thing, and we've
It's a
talked
huge
about
thing.
this, so I'm excited to do an episode on that. Yeah.
Me too. And I've done DNA analysis. I've bought their honey. I know
Oh,
who they are.
oh
I've
yeah.
bought, and
Your
I've
research is impeccable on this
5
subject.
years.
Yeah.
5 years. So this is not a joke, and it's not about competition for me. I
Hmm.
sell out every year.
Hmm.
So it's not like I need to sell any more honey. They never sell out because they're just buying it from the big boys. I sell out, which is, I manage about 100 colonies. About 70 or 4 people. They're my clients' hives on their properties, on their beautiful estates, organic farms. And then I've got my bees. My farm in Sagaponack has my bees for honey production. This yard here is the bees that I've rescued. And after this, I have to go to 2 different rescues. It's swarm season right now.
Okay.
So, few tips to help the bees. If you see a swarm of honeybees, don't leave them. You see on the internet, oh, just leave them be. They're going to move on. Yeah, they're going to move on into someone's home, and they might get exterminated. And if they move into a tree, which is rare because everyone cuts down rotten trees, right? Only about 20% of those swarms are going to survive. So imagine like little puppies and kittens running around. They're not going to make it on their own. They need help. And so with the bees, they need to be fed. They need to be medicated. They're health checked. They need a proper hive, overwintering, things like that. And although it is illegal to exterminate here in Suffolk County, the fine is ridiculous. I mean, and they have to get caught. So, yeah, it's not hard sometimes to kill definitely a swarm, colonies and structures. So, yeah, so if you see a swarm,
What if you're not sure? What if you see bees messing around a crack near your house or something? Is there a way
I
that
always
they
tell
can be
people,
sure?
send a video. I can identify them. I'll tell you what they are, wasp, hornets, whatever they are, and direct you toward, you want an organic pest control, you want to, I like to deal with the small business owners, not these big corporations that have bought up most of the small business owners out here.
Right, right.
So I have a few guys that are just, sole proprietor, pest control, nice guys. And so if anyone has that kind of issue, I can, direct them to that. To help the bees also would be obviously go organic on your property and just, yeah, we understand fungicides and anything you need to use, but the least harm possible to achieve the results that you're looking for, or change your idea of the perfect manicured yard. I mean, I've got all kinds of gorgeous things popping up here. Strawberries and wild violets and, just beautiful little things that I let grow. You can have a nice manicured lawn organically as well. And then another thing would be to plant bushes and trees. So 1 acre of wildflowers gives the same amount of forage as 1 tree.
Oh.
So it's much easier for you to plant a tree, cheaper, less maintenance, less watering, all that. And some of the flowering trees could be maple, holly. The bees love the sumac, winged sumac. They also, the biggest finding in all of the DNA analysis that I did through the years was privet. And it kind of makes sense because the honeybees originated in Asia. And the privet, it's a plant from Asia. So it's little tiny white flowers. They love poison ivy, but we're not going to really keep that around.
No.
Planting for the bees. You could put out a little, right this time of year, the bees need about a gallon of water per hive per day. And so you could put out like a shallow tray, a bird bath, maybe with shells, rocks, cork, something like that. And the bees and the butterflies and whoever else can come and gather the water that they need for their home.
Awesome. Oh, that's as usual, an abundance of information from our favorite beekeeper, Deb Klugers, over there at Bonnet Bees. Deb, thanks so much. You're awesome, and we thank you for educating us. We're going to hear more from Deb. As we said, we have some great episodes lined up about some unbelievable topics, but even these little short informationals, Deb, we love having you on, and we really appreciate. I appreciate you helping me out by being on my show.
Thank you, Dell. You're great wealth of information for all of us, and you're the one getting this out to everyone. So we appreciate you.
All right, my dear. Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you later.
Oh, you don't want to peek in the hive?
Yeah, let's take a quick shot.
Okay. So this colony was a overwintered rescue, but they went queenless, which is a thing. Sometimes they lose their queen; she gets old, or they kill her because she's not producing. So that's what happened with this. But like I said, this colony also lost their queen. So I had another very small colony that really wasn't worth trying to get them to be a honey producer. Yep, we got the queen. Let's see. I'm gonna go like this. All right, so where'd she go? Oh, now I lost her. Okay, here she is. So right here, can you see my finger?
Yep.
That's the queen. Do you see how she's much bigger than all of the other worker bees? You see her?
Yeah, I see her.
That's the queen. That's Mama. So this queen is about 2 years old. She wasn't really performing in her little dinky hive. So like I said, I joined her with this overwintered who had lost their queen. And let me take a peek here, see if I could see if she's laying. Yep. So yeah, she's kicking it up. So we're proud of her. She did a good job.
Wow.
And she can just live here. Here she is. Right here.
Gee whiz, that is so neat.
Yep. So she could do whatever she needs to do,
and all those bees are protecting her.
They're more like nudging her, like, "Come on, Mama, lay."
Oh, okay.
We want more sisters.
Okay.
See her? She's got. You could tell she's a little bit older because her wings are a little bit,
sure.
A little bit old looking.
Yeah.
And the queens. Sometimes people can't identify their queen. She always has. Every queen I've ever seen has golden legs. So you can be sure that that's your queen if you see these golden legs on her. Right. Yep. I'm going to get this frame back in the hive.
Hey, Deb, thanks again.
My pleasure. Okay, thanks, Deb.
I'm sorry, Deb. I didn't mean to cut you off like that. There we go. I'm trying to put my button back on. That was awesome, Deb. That was awesome, and we really appreciate sharing your knowledge with us, and I really look forward to talking to you about the honey laundering, because we've discussed that in length, and it was really interesting to me, and I enjoyed it. But I did find this, and I wanted to play this for everybody. So let's see if I can make this happen. Check this out, guys. That is amazing. I just love that stuff. And that's why I love nature and wildlife. How how awesome is that? I mean, come on, folks. You got to admit, you got to save these little buggers. All right, that's some heavy duty intelligence right there. It's not the first time. There's so many awesome animals trying to work and tell us things, and we just don't listen. Almost, all right, folks, it's almost time to go. We're going to go just a little bit over an hour because I got one more thing I want to discuss with you. I want to hop on a soapbox real quick, okay? And I recorded this little thing, so I want you to check it out. All right? Okay. There's another thing I want to talk to you right now. Gosh darn it. And that's about rodenticides. And I need you to listen. How'd you like that? But for real, folks, what are we doing here with these rodenticides? Okay? I mean, you don't even need them. You're paying for them. Look, I don't want to screw up anyone's business or anything, but let me just tell you, there's better ways. I need to talk to you about rodenticides, folks. Okay? Listen to me. I have some strong opinions and proven theories about rodenticide use. When I moved back to the Hamptons for the second time in 2005, anyway, my first job was trapping for Nardi in Southampton. While I was there, I took the course in the New York State Pesticides Applicator and passed, and soon after that I was licensed. However, never did I once do a pesticide job. I did it strictly for the knowledge and how it was going to affect the wildlife, which was my main interest. So I figured I needed to learn about it. I did also tag along sometimes to see how they were applied. And regardless, I did learn a lot. But I didn't last long at Nardi because I wouldn't kill any of the animals that I trapped or use any of the kill traps they required me to use. I left there and was up and running as Hampton Wildlife, I don't know, a month or two later. And the rest is history. Now, let me all tell you something about these rodenticides that you insist on using and are too blind to see what's really being created here. Whether you're talking about anticoagulants that cause its victims to suffer over 2 to 3 days before dying with internal bleeding starting from the liver. I know the neurotoxin bromethylene, that I know for sure. That affects the nervous system. I'm sure permethrin fits in there as well as what are they spraying all over the mosquitoes there? Affecting the ospreys, methoprene. Okay. All bad stuff. It's killing everything. There's also cholecalciferol. Cholecalciferol is a concentrated form of vitamin D, where high concentrations screw with calcium regulations. It also affects the heart and kidneys. What it doesn't affect, however, is secondary poisoning issues. So they're starting to use it in these rodenticide blocks. Okay, there's actually one, I'll tell you, I'll think of the name in a minute. It begins with the T. And that's what it's made from. However, it's still, a toxin. And then lastly, Terad 3 is what I believe the name is. Anyway, it has its own concerns. Zinc phosphide, it's hard to say with my tooth, which reacts to stomach acids in the person that ingests it, and it creates in their stomach a phosphide gas that is not so pleasant and will often kill the target animal. Okay, so look, whether it's green or red, whether you use the green blocks or the red blocks, rodenticides will kill approximately 12 mice or 2 rats per 1 ounce block. Okay, folks, they contain 0.005% of often single-fed non-anticoagulant brodifacoum. The rest is usually paraffin wax, some coloring, and of course, birdseed and birdseed scrap. And that's there to attract the rodents. Okay, remember that. Why anyone would want to put this in their home or yards when it's designed specifically to attract rodents is beyond me. But anyway, more on that in a minute. The average block is 20 grams to 28 grams, 1 ounce. Okay. Average lethal dose for a mouse is 2.5 grams. A rat, 10 to 20 grams. Okay. So they need to eat like half a block or almost a whole block for one rat to have enough lethal dosage to die. Do the math, okay? Then realize you just signed a contract to pay someone to feed your rodents for as long as you wish. Sure, you'll kill 12 mice per 1 ounce block, but certainly you realize you're going to attract more than a dozen mice, okay? You're going to have all the other mice that followed that dozen in. Okay, now they're left hanging around in your basement looking for food. Well, they'll roam your house and looking for it. And that's when people see them in their kitchens and stuff. And they go, why do it? Why? I have mouse traps in the basement that snapped 20 years ago up on the sill plate. And I hire this guy to feed the rodents down in the basement, not up here in the kitchen. Well, you ran out of food down in the basement. These blocks remain lethal for up to 5 years. They are often required to be installed in. They are required to be installed in a black safety box that allows the target animal to enter. Okay, outside these boxes full of poison, they're a nightmare. If you use them for vole control, you've just invited every wild animal that can smell birdseed into your yard, particularly at night. And I've seen raccoons tear those things to pieces like they were cardboard boxes. Okay. And you get a raccoon to eat one or two of those blocks of poison, he'll poop and vomit all over your nice pool the night before your party. You'll never get it out. So you poisoned your rodents while the others wait for the monthly buffet to be refilled. First or second generation anticoagulant rodenticide, more commonly referred to as SCAR, SGAR, is highly concentrated and could technically kill dozens of raptors, birds of prey through secondary poisoning. It bioaccumulates up the food chain, meaning one poisoned rat could potentially kill a family of owls or hawks during nesting feeding. Can imagine that. Can you folks let that sink in for a minute? It bothers me every time I think about it. And we as people can change that, but we don't. It needs to change. Here in Massachusetts, wildlife rehab and rescuers reported 96% of birds tested in Massachusetts showed exposure to rodenticides. 96%. I have personally, along with my wife Dee, have rescued or rehabbed and rescued over 24 birds of prey, mostly owls and hawks, that were poisoned or paralyzed by the effects of secondary rodenticide poisoning. Not all of them made it. None knew why. They just had a normal meal. They suffered in pain the following day or two. And if they were lucky enough not to be predated on, eaten alive by a predator, they would soon die. Sick, scared, and alone. Would you want a human or your beloved pet to die like that? Why would you allow it then to happen to wildlife? Stop the poison, people. Seal the cracks and gaps in your foundation and around your entire home. You've eliminated the problem. You don't have to pay anybody to feed your rodents because you won't have any. Start where the problem is. It starts with where the animal is coming in and coming out of your home. Okay? Once you solve that issue, you no longer have a rodent issue, and there's no need to use these radical and very dangerous poisons that are killing our wildlife left and right for no reason at all. All right. So that's all I want to say on that. And please. I'm standing in the woods here with a beautiful red-tailed hawk. He seems to be okay with me being here. He's not being vocal. I don't see any visible injuries, but something has happened, obviously. I mean, he's just sitting here looking at me. And as you'll see, I'll move around. It's okay, Sweet Pea. I'm going to get up nice and slow, okay? Nice and easy. It's okay. Don't you worry. No. It's okay. And I'm going to move around here. Look over here, Sweet Pea. Come see me. Come look. Let's see. I've switched sides. Yet he doesn't turn his head instantly. He's kind of bobbing back and forth a little bit. I don't know if you can make that out. Almost like he's dazed. It's okay. Come on, sweetie. Keep walking. We got to get her either some help. Can I get you in here, Sweet Pea? Can I get you, okay? No. I got her in the carrier without having to use the net. She let me pick her up. So I'm going to gently get her back and see if we can't get her some help immediately. And we did. And we brought her to, I brought her to the Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Center. They pumped her right up with some vitamin K to reverse the effects of the anticoagulant. And they did, in fact, as they do for so many others, rescued the animal. And we were able to release it back into the wild. Folks, that was an extra special, uneventful, as far as production-wise, show. I think we got this nailed, okay? So now that I know what I could do, I'm going to keep doing it, okay? So pay attention now. I'm going to sign off. Got a couple things I'm going to show you during the end song credit. I want to show you a list of some good trappers, good pest control guys. I'm going to throw them up there as some good referrals for you folks in case you need any. Also, the I want you to tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the kids show. That's 10 a.m. Exactly, 10 to 10:30 a.m. on Saturdays, and then of course next Sunday we'll do this all over again. And I'll keep trying to keep it closer to an hour, folks. I apologize. This was a really good show. You can also view it on my YouTube channel as well as the Riverside FM app. If you have any questions or topics you want to talk about, please, folks, you gotta write me. You gotta email me or text me or call me. Let me know what you want to talk about, and we'll do that. Send me some wildlife pictures as well. If you care to donate to my little services here on Saturdays and Sundays throughout the summer, which also goes towards anything that me and my wife do. We have a very modest rescue and rehabilitation set up here where we live now. It's not as overwhelming as it was in the Hamptons, but it does still take time and money. We have always split the bill, and we will continue to do so. But it is also very nice for those who can't help. They often ask, "How can we help?" Well, every little bit helps us. So whether it's $5 or $50 or $500, it's all going to go towards the animals. So we appreciate that, and you could send those donations to the Let's Get Wild Venmo account, or which is AKA my account, and we'll make sure that those funds are used specifically for rescue rehab and the educational show here. Of course, this is brought to us by Riverside FM, who finally, after a long period of time, took a little while, but they got us working, and I really appreciate their hard work. So I want to leave you, first of all, with the words of a great philosopher that I don't know who wrote this, folks. I don't know who did, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay. The closer you are to nature, the further you are from idiots, folks. Okay. It's true. It'll make you feel better too. We'll see you next week.
Taking a walk through an African park one day, I saw a sign say animals have the right of way. Wildlife, whatever happened to you're breathing so hot, a lot of political nonsense in the air.